Hello, and thank you for joining me on today's podcast for CyberSafe News and Views. My name is Lee, and I'll be your guide. In today's episode, the top ways you can be hacked, your small business, your personal device, your data, and ways you can possibly avoid it. So we'll talk about that in some detail. And then we'll get into the news. Interesting things are happening. The cyber criminals are getting more and more advanced. I don't want to scare you, but if you if you're not prepared, there's some amount of fear that's healthy. So let's get into it. First, in today's episode is just the top ways that you could be hacked. So let me share my screen here, and you know, I did a simple search on Google, used their AI so you could see what are the top ways, according to AI and all the searching that they do, for small businesses, for anyone to get hacked. Really, this all comes down to you personally, and I will try to interpret it as such for the small business, the individual person as well. So you can see on the list phishing. If you're not familiar with phishing, we have a news article on that today, so you'll learn more. But if you're not familiar with phishing, it's basically a way that someone can give you an email. There's also smishing. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But email smishing is SMS text messages where they're trying to get you to respond and to do something with that immediately. So you might get an email from your credit card saying, oh, you're past due, but it's not exactly from your credit card. This is a simple way for you to then go to a site, click on something, and maybe their goal was to have you pay a bill that you don't owe. Maybe their goal was to actually have you click on something, try to log in so they can log into your credit card. They've got multifaceted goals as part of this. So their goal may just be to install something. You click on the site, you go to it, it installs something, and then they pass you on to the real site. So everything looks real, but in the meantime, they downloaded something and ran it on your computer. So phishing and smishing being on your phone, on a Mac, if you've got a Mac with an iPhone, then it could be on your computer as well. But that's clicking on something there so that they can hang out in the background, look at your device, get a keylogger going, lots of different things. And oh, by the way, as if you watched all of our episodes, I worked at IBM. So if I give you a TLA, a three-letter acronym that you're not familiar with, please leave me a comment down below and I will describe that. But a keylogger is just what it sounds. It's getting on your computer, watching everything you're doing, logging all the keys you're entering. So they'll see, hey, I'm going to chase.com. Great. Username is, oh, it's their email. And here's their email. Oh, what's the password? It's this. And at that point, it doesn't matter if your password is good, if your password is simple, or it actually does matter if it's the same password for every site. Now they might have your Facebook or your bank or whatever. So be careful with phishing. Phishing is a very real way to get hacked. And depending on how they do it, there's multiple ways. You may not even realize you're hacked. So be careful with that. The next one down the list is malware. Malware is simply something that phishing can actually install, or something that you might install. Hey, I downloaded the newest open shareware, freeware software to do X, Y, or Z, whatever it is you're wanting to do. Never use freeware, shareware. If you can't tell how they're making their money, they're either making it through you, through selling your data, or they're making it through you trying to get you hacked. Don't use freeware, shareware. Yes, there are exceptions, but in the small business arena, unless you are willing to take on the responsibility to do the due diligence to investigate that freeware, shareware, it's just not worth the risk. So malware gets on your computer and then might continue like what I was saying. Might be a keylogger. might be, hey, we're going to take control. We're looking around. We're going to use your device as one of the entities in a DDoS attack. There's multiple things that they could do, but getting malware on your computer is just, it's a virus, and it's going to get some kind of data lost for you or other accounts hacked. So be careful with that one too. Don't use freeware, and make sure you aren't clicking on the wrong things with phishing and schmishing. Social engineering. This one, it doesn't sound very powerful. Social engineering is when hackers might call you, they might email you in a phishing scam or SMS text you and get really interactive with you. Generally, this is going to be calling or being very specific with you. Hey, you haven't paid your electric bill for, Duke Energy. You haven't, and you're like, wow, I have Duke Energy. And they're going to get really aggressive. Or it might be that, hey, this is Microsoft calling. If you've ever seen me in my public speaking gig, Microsoft's never going to call you. The FBI, never going to call you. The police, your local police department, never going to call you. They're going to show up on your doorstep. They're going to knock on the door, and they're going to take you away. If you truly have something to pay, or the shipment's going to go back, who cares? But social engineering, someone that I was talking to, helping through a part of the process, actually had this happen, where they got a phone call and said, hey, your gas is going to be turned off today unless you pay your bill. And they were happenstance going to pay their gas bill that morning. Now, it wasn't late. They didn't believe it was late, but we can all be wrong. They went through the process, and it just eventually it started to smell fishy. Oh yeah, we can't take a credit card. You need to go get us gift cards from your local pharmacy. And like, whoa, red flags. Hello, stop now. And then he called me and said, this sounds fake. And I said, good job. You're listening. That was completely fake. So there's different types of social engineering. It can happen to you. It could be just someone calling, claiming the local, some authority. Yeah, that's why Microsoft is a big one. Microsoft called my father-in-law, and I was there. I was excited to get on the phone. Oh, this is Microsoft. Now they had a surprising amount of information. So be careful. Don't assume, hey, they know what kind of computer I have. They know where I'm located. Stop. If you need to do something and someone's calling you up, you need to pay your gas bill, go pay your gas bill. Pay it your normal way through your website or whatever. Don't get caught with someone on the phone or whatever, where they want you to authenticate. That just, you want to push my buttons. Be a vendor of mine, call me, and then ask me to authenticate who I am. Wow, I blow my top. And I let them know this is not a secure practice. So be on your guard. Social engineering is real. They're going to have some information about you, and it's going to sound convincing. End story. If you need to go do something, go do it. Don't deal with the person on the phone. Compromised passwords. So it's not really a big deal if you have some compromised passwords. You just change your passwords, right? The big deal is most people out there have one password. You have one password that gets you into your email, that gets you into your work email, that gets you into everything in your life, your social media, whatever platforms you subscribe to, your just everything. Let's make it a little bit harder, please. Change your passwords. Keep different passwords. Compromised passwords. We're going to talk about this one. This one happened with AT&T. We're going to talk about this one in more detail. Change your passwords. Change your. A lot of companies that call you, or you might call them, now have an authentication code, a PIN. Change that periodically, especially if they tell you, hey, it's been compromised. We lost it. Whoops. Sorry. Yeah. They should be doing a better job. Change your passwords. Brute force attacks. If you have any vulnerability, and this is one that I'm going to be careful of because I really don't want to scare you. But if you have an older router modem from your internet service provider, if you have, at one point your friend, colleague, son, whatever was in IT, and hey, they opened a port in your firewall so that they could help you when you needed help. These are opportunities for brute force attacks. These are not hard to stop if you're looking. If you're not looking, they're impossible to stop because nothing is going to ever tell you, hey, I had 9,543 login attempts yesterday, or between the hours of midnight and 2 a.m. You're not on your computer. You're not looking for that. Meanwhile, they've just tried 10,000 passwords. So be careful with what you have in your environment. If you're not sure, leave me a comment. I can help you. Whatever may be the case, find someone who knows that can look at your environment, especially if you have valuable data in your work. And actually, there's a news article today that we're going to talk about as well. If you have valuable information in your home office, in your family office, that's a new target. So be careful. These brute force attacks, once they can get on your network, it's generally a matter of time before they can get to and on your devices. Data breaches. We're going to talk about AT&T. AT&T had a breach years ago. I think it was 2018. I got a letter. I was part of the hack where they lost the data. Well, the person finally found a buyer, and that buyer bought it and posted it online. All 70 some million records. When you see these things, when they come out, do your work to cancel the account or change the password or whatever you've got to do. That's a very real way for them to get at you. SIM cloning, we're not going to talk about that. That's on your mobile device, and it is surprisingly fairly easily hacked. And I hope I'm not sharing the wrong one, but I think I am. And the last one is application vulnerabilities. We're going to talk about the other one too. Application vulnerabilities are very difficult and very, very much, you're using software that you think, well, I bought it 5 years ago. It shouldn't be a big deal. Right, I get it. But software, even the software that you buy, ages out. Windows 10 ages out theoretically next year unless Microsoft extends it. If you have older versions of Office, those age out. Databases, those age out. There's a list of additional things that, here, I'll share this tab instead. This is the one I meant to be sharing. So there you go. Those actually line up to what I was talking about. But the application vulnerabilities, when they're exposed, when they're past a date, Chrome has a regular patch cycle because they get out of date so quickly, so easily. So OSs have to be patched. These application vulnerabilities are real. They make you vulnerable. They make your network vulnerable, and it can actually be ways to allow people to get into your environment. So be careful, especially if anything is public facing. Now, I know a lot of businesses in the small business arena, they don't have anything public facing. You don't host your own website. Somebody else does that. You don't have a DMZ where you can access it from outside your firewall and inside your firewall. You don't do a lot of things. I get it, but be careful. Your application vulnerabilities can be a easy way for them to get on your environments. And then two other things that I wanted to talk about just briefly. One was clickjacking. We see this a lot And clickjacking is really trying to get you to, for whatever reason, click on something that would then install malware in your environment. So clickjacking, think you're on a browser, it's full screened, and you're doing your daily tasks, your work, not necessarily on any bad sites. You're doing things that you always do, but simply because of sites that you're on, your browser is able to run programs, normally does, and one of the sites just pops something up full screen on your computer and says, hey, you've got a vulnerability. We scanned your computer and you've got 2 viruses. Click here to clean your computer now. Don't click here now. Don't do it. And the way you can really tell that you don't want to do it is because they block off the entire screen. You can't get out of anything without clicking. Now, there are ways out of it. You've got to be a keyboard jockey like me to be able to get out of it. Your mouse basically becomes mostly irrelevant. You really can't get it out of it with a mouse. You need to be able to do something with the keyboard to get out and to close the browser, and then go back and start tracing back what screen was it. But that's clickjacking, where they want to force you into something that you don't necessarily want to do. And the last one that I'll mention, smishing, they're going to give you on your little device on your mobile phone. You're going to say, oh, I got a text message. It's from Home Depot. Whoa, wait a minute. Look at that closer. It's from Hone Depot, H-O-N-E-D Depot. Believe it or not, I saw this real one. And I have a Home Depot account. I'm a guy. Hello. Doesn't every guy have a Home Depot account? Either that or Lowe's or whatever you have up north. But they were close with me. I had a Home Depot account. Oh, I didn't pay my bill. Click here to pay your bill. And it's not Home Depot. So be careful when you get text messages, especially if you were part of, let's switch to the news. If you were part of the AT&T hack, I get text messages incessantly. Now, my number was part of that. By the way, the AT&T hack, again, let me just surmise it for you, happened a few years ago, but someone recently sold the data. And when the hacker sold the data, when they sold it, that buyer posted it online. Not sure exactly what they're trying to gain from that, except to show you, I got your data. First thing you need to do, call AT&T, log into your account if you are a current customer, and change your passcode to your account. And then go through and change the password to log into your account. Do both of those things. If you are not a current customer, like me, not a current customer, then you really don't have anything to do. You can sign up for the credit monitoring, for the credit protection, and if you actually get hacked, they have services that they're willing to pay for that will help get you out of that hack as well. So AT&T lost all our data. By the way, first name, last name, account number, password to your account, PIN number to your account, social security number, and if you had somebody else authorized on the account, lost their information too. So not really a fan. These big companies need to protect their data, as do you. If you have data that belongs to somebody else, protect your data, please. All right, moving on. In another news article, they're setting up fake antivirus websites. And these antivirus websites look real. So when you go out to Avast, you want to download Avast. Avast is a well-known, good antivirus software tool. Or you want to download Bitdefender or Malwarebytes. All these things, if you're familiar at all, oh, they sound real. Right, sound real. Well, it's not avast.com. It's avast-securedownload.com. If you're not aware, you click on it and it's malware. Now, the bad part is they could get you to pay for it and give you malware. And now they've got your bank data so they can continue to charge you. You've got malware on your computer, so they've got you on both ends. So be careful. Bitdefender was bitdefender-app.com. Careful. Malwarebytes.pro. If you're not sure, ask someone who is, get the website name, and this is something that all your search engines should clear up and clean up over time, and identify those and get rid of them. So the ones that appear at the top are more likely to be real and the ones you want to deal with. But be careful. If it looks just slightly odd, well, why would a Fortune 1000 company have a .pro or a .tv website? Be careful. Ask. Better to ask and be told, oh, well, that's maybe a stupid question. I'm not going to say that. Somebody else might. Than to have you get hacked and then you need help. All right. In our next news article, it comes from sdxcentral.com. Talks about workers and are they ready for malware or ransomware attacks? And the title of the article is "Workers Are Still Overconfident in Their Ability to Spot Ransomware." The author interviewed some folks, and one of the quotes was, "No one likes to think of themselves as an easy mark." I get it. You know, we're all educated. We're all knowledgeable to a point. Oh, I could recognize ransomware. It's going to have bad English or bad grammar or whatever. Not going to happen, folks. They've gotten past that. It is real ransomware. I'd almost say looks too perfect. Be careful. A normal person's going to have some typos or something. I try to be typo free in my public communication, but your ransomware, your phishing, it's perfect these days. Be careful. 60% of non-IT employees were found to be troublingly overconfident. So they did a survey. They couldn't identify the ransomware. Almost 70% are troublingly overconfident. They would click on something. And oh, by the way, in case you're an older viewer or you're a younger workers were more iffy on their abilities to identify phishing. In other words, the younger people were more confident and wrong more of the time. So congrats to you older people who are more cautious, more knowledgeable that you don't know. So please, everyone, ask. If you don't know for sure, ransomware, malware, once you've got it, and it's hard to get rid of or hard to get your data back or whatever the problem may be. It's estimated that 59%, hear me, 59% of organizations were hit by a ransomware attack last year, 2023. If you haven't been hacked, if you haven't been attacked, you either aren't looking or it's coming. They got half the organizations last year. You can expect the other half to be gotten this year. So be careful. If you're not seeing these attacks, you're not looking. And then in our last article, it's the article I mentioned earlier, family offices becoming a prime target for cyber attacks and ransomware. It's a CNBC.com article. Whatever you think about the site, whatever you think about the news organization, this was a valuable news article. Less than 1/3 of family offices. So think small businesses, think lawyers' offices, realtor offices, anyone that's got a small amount of staff, but they might have large amounts of people's data, credit cards on file, or access to their bank account. The article mentions financial trading, being able to trade their information, trade stocks or bonds or whatever, make financial transactions on their behalf. Imagine if they got access to all of that data, which is what's happening. So be careful. They're less than a third even think they're partially prepared, and they're very lucrative targets. So many ways to get in, get your bank account information, and then you got to protect your data. Please, please, please protect your data. It's yours. You're a small business. You've worked hard for this data. Keep it protected. If you don't have an obligation, or if you do have an obligation like PCI or HIPAA, then you have an obligation to protect that data. Please, please do. So that's the news articles this week. In everything I'm reading, nothing's getting easier. Nothing's getting simpler. The attackers are getting more and more vigilant, more and more capable. They're hacking big name organizations I don't mention because it really doesn't relate to the small business or individual cybersecurity. But they're hacking those individuals and those companies, making it hard for them to even find them, or once they find them, to be able to kick them out and to know they kicked them out. So nothing's getting better. Please get prepared before it's too late, before you lose pictures of grandma or the grandbaby, or you lose the data for your small business or what have you. Again, my name's Lee, Cybersecurity News and Views. If we can help you in any way, please leave us a comment down below. We're happy to help. And if you found this valuable, please give me a thumbs up. Please give me a comment below, a like, whatever you can do. Just want to try and help out small businesses out there. So until next time, stay cyber safe.